I actually think we're underplaying one of the stories out there, and let me explain right off the top what I mean. Last night, Bristol had around 20 or 30,000 people show up for a sporting event, and it was live on television, and you could see the people in the crowd, and they were spaced out, and I thought almost no one talked about it. We haven't seen a crowd at a sporting event anywhere in this country that is in the tens of thousands. At least you can tweet me or you can call in and let me know, or the crew can let me know, since March. I mean, since the Rudy Gobert fallout began in the NBA and all of the different sports leagues shut down, college and pro, that ensuing couple of days, we haven't seen anybody produce a sporting event with tens of thousands of people in the crowd. Yes, I know Bristol can sit a ton of people. I was there for the night race before, and a couple of years ago, I was there for the Tennessee-Virginia Tech game when there were 150,000 people plus in that stadium. So I know, trust me, how monstrously large that stadium is. But when you saw the aerial shots last night on FS1 and you could see how many people were in there at the NASCAR event, parked close to the stadium, tailgating, this seemed like a pretty big deal to me that is not receiving that much attention overall, that we had a crowd like that for a sporting event. And one of the things, as I watched that sporting event take place, I'm thinking to myself, hold on. And I asked this, if you heard yesterday in my interview with Greg Sankey, I was ahead of it. But now, having watched it on television, my question is pretty straightforward for everybody out there. There only seems to be a focus on whether college football can play or not. Well, obviously, the SEC is a big part of college football, and I think many different leagues will take their lead based on what the SEC does. And I mean like high school football. I mean, a lot of different people, I think, will piggyback off of the SEC decision. And I thought it was interesting that we're talking about whether or not college football can happen, and 2 of the 14 SEC teams are in the state of Tennessee, Vanderbilt and the University of Tennessee. And we're not talking about massive crowds for any of their games. And I think a lot of you probably have the same question that I do. If tens of thousands of people can watch a NASCAR race in July, why can't a handful or relatively small amount of people watch an SEC football game in September? I don't have a good answer for why that couldn't be allowed.
What up, Doug? Get a fight count.
There were as many people just about watching that race in Bristol as watches the average Vanderbilt football.
Thanks.
Anyway, Vanderbilt football has been social distancing since before social distancing was cool. The University of Tennessee Stadium seats 100,000 people, so things would need to be different there. But I haven't heard anybody anywhere in the media explain to me why NASCAR can have tens of thousands of fans present in July and we can't do the same thing in September, even smaller crowds for college football. Let me bring in the crew pretty quick because I want to get a reaction to that. Do you think, Danny G, that this was underplayed given how many people? Did you watch the race last night in Bristol?
I did watch it.
I mean, there's a lot of people in the crowd, right? I mean, now they were socially distanced and it looks quite a bit different than ever before. There's no doubt. But don't you think this is a big deal given how long it has been since we had tens of thousands of people in a crowd at all for a sporting event? And I actually think it's been undercovered by the media. I understand it's NASCAR. But when you look at the way things are set up right now in the country, having a sporting event with tens of thousands of fans present seems like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and when Chase Elliott crossed the finish line and was celebrating, the crowd was celebrating with him. The announcers let the crowd ambiance go for a few seconds and then talked about it. And it was music to my ears because we just haven't heard that.
That's right.
In so long. It was awesome. The Corona Bros on your Twitter feed last night, I noticed, were saying, well, it's because Bristol can seat 162,000 people, so of course they can social distance in this manner.
Okay, but the Corona Bros, the percentage. I'm glad you're reading my mentions. I hardly read my mentions now because it's just a perpetual war. And also, frankly, this show has exploded in such an extent, I can't even keep up with my mentions, even if I wanted to. But the 20% or whatever it was of the overall seating capacity, the percentage could be the same for other sporting events. Yes, Bristol is just a monumentally large stadium, and they can fit 20 or 30,000 people in, even with social distancing requirements. But there are a lot of 100,000 seat stadiums in college football. If the precedent that is being set at Bristol is that 20% of their crowd can attend, well, the Neyland Stadium in just down the road in Knoxville seats 100,000. So does that mean that they could not seat 20,000 there? I mean, that's still a pretty good-sized crowd. That's more people than attend the average NBA game in general. And look, if you go back and listen to the tape back in March, I don't care about crowds. Let me be clear. I don't care about crowds being present because, like most of you, I'm going to watch sports on television. But if you can have 20,000 plus fans present at a sporting event in July, I don't understand how anybody can argue that college football isn't possible to happen without fans at all. Like, I'll gladly give up, and I'm sure most college football conferences would as well. It arguably makes their decision a little bit easier. But if you start in September with no fans present at all for college football games, I would still watch. I mean, yes, the pomp, the circumstance, the pageantry of college football is impressive. But when you look at all of those fans being present at that event, and you think about, okay, 30,000, 20,000, whatever the final tally was at Bristol, and you think about the fact that by August 1st, Major League Baseball, the NHL, NBA, MLS, PGA, WNBA, UFC, NWSL, PBA, boxing, NASCAR, all of those sports, plus the NFL theoretically is going to be in training camp, are going to be happening, and college football can't happen. It just doesn't make any sense. Dub, did you watch any of the race last night?
I didn't watch any of the race, but I saw pictures on social media and stuff, and it gave me a positive feeling, especially combined with our interview with Greg Sankey yesterday when he gave out not exact numbers about the testing details, but he did say it was
near zero.
Yeah, near zero. That information combined with 30,000 people in a crowd on July 15th in the state of Tennessee, I mean, it gives me a lot more hope than I probably had a couple of days ago about college football actually happening. If you can have 20% of a NASCAR stadium full, I don't really get why you can't have college football with no fans, especially when Greg Sankey said that the testing numbers are as low as they are currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. What about you, Eddie? Did you watch any of this race at all?
I saw a lot of the highlights. I did not watch it live.
Okay, but you're a college football fan, and from your perspective, when you see that many fans present in mid-July, does it also raise the issue with you, like, wait a minute, how could we not play college football? By the way, the reason I'm mentioning college football on this program is obviously because I'm a big college football fan, but also because it's literally the only sport that anyone is talking about now not playing. I mean, it's kind of crazy that everybody else is like, yeah, we're playing, and the storyline just disappears, right? I don't see very many people. I mean, Major League Baseball starts this week. Next week, this day, 7 days from now, Major League Baseball is going to be back underway. And I don't hear anybody saying, oh, my God, what's Major League Baseball doing? A lot of people are covering the ridiculousness of the NBA bubble, and in fact, we're going to be joined by Chris Mannix, who is currently quarantining in the NBA bubble in hour 2, but I don't hear anybody talking about the NBA bubble-related issues, and frankly, other than every now and then somebody coming out and talking about a particular element of the NFL, I don't hear like, oh, you can't change jerseys. We'll talk about that with Dr. Chow in hour 3 of this program, the jersey trade and NFL football in general, but I don't hear anybody talking about how the NFL can't play. And so it seems strange to me that the NASCAR crowd story is not a much bigger one, just given how long we've gone without a crowd of that size or significance existing in sports. And I think it makes it tough on the Corona bros when we've got tens of thousands of people watching a NASCAR event and they're trying to say, oh my God, there's no way we can play college football.
Well, if you're talking, first of all, about the fans, there's no argument to be made if someone says they're okay with 30,000 fans being at a NASCAR event, but they're not okay with 20 to 30,000 fans being at a college football game. That doesn't make any sense at all.
That's right.
But the only difference between college sports and pro sports is the whole idea that there's compensation. And that's the only thing that someone can point to as for a reason. There's a feel amongst some that these are quote unquote kids being pushed out there by adults for our entertainment, whereas professional sports, they're adults being allowed to make their own decision and being compensated for it. That's the difference. That's it.
Yeah, the difference I would say, and by the way, I think it applies for high school football too, because obviously high school football players aren't being paid. If you don't want to play, you don't have to. And I think if we polled college football players right now, I think 99% of them, maybe higher, would say, yeah, I want to play college football this fall.
I don't disagree with that.
And so the 1% that doesn't, or their parents that don't want them to, I give credit to all of the sports leagues in college sports, because what they've all said is if you don't want to play, you keep your scholarship. And I would imagine the NCAA would allow you to take a redshirt year so you don't actually lose out at all. What about you, Roberto? Were you also impressed with the number of people that showed up?
It's crazy. I didn't watch it, but I go with Eddie. What Eddie was saying. That the whole thing is that it's college football. You got the student athletes; they're not getting paid. I think that's just a major difference between NASCAR and college football.
But again, if you're giving them the choice to play or not, I would make it the same as high school football, which I believe should be happening. And I'm not just high school football either. If you play high school soccer or whatever the sport is, I think your sport should be taking place as well in high school, as opposed to going a full year, which is where we're headed right now, without many different states being able to allow kids to play high school sports. And by the way, I also believe a Little League should be going, because your kid is under greater danger, as we talked about yesterday on this program. Your kid is under greater danger from the flu if they are under 15 years old than they are from the coronavirus. Other big news that is out there. First of all, Dak Prescott did not sign any extension, and therefore he is on the franchise tag, as we anticipated would happen. The other big name that decided at the last minute to sign a deal was Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry signed a $50 million deal. Now, as everyone knows at this point in the NFL, the only thing that matters is how much of that contract was guaranteed, and Derrick Henry got what I think is a contract that is not really that difficult for the Tennessee Titans. He got $25.5 million guaranteed, and for the Titans, they were able to drop Derrick Henry's cap number to $6 million as opposed to $10.7 million. So they saved $4.7 million on this year's cap number. Why does that matter? Well, they've been pursuing Jadeveon Clowney. Is it possible that they get a deal done, the Titans, for Jadeveon Clowney? Yes, in theory, that would be possible. The Titans now have a 2-year contract effectively with Derrick Henry. Next year, he'll count $13.5 million. But basically, they got a 2-year window where their running back is not going to overwhelm their overall salary cap, and they theoretically are going to be able to, in their mind anyway, make a run like they did last year to potentially put themselves into a good position when it comes to not only what they're doing with their running back, but what they're going to do with Ryan Tannehill, and also what they're going to do with the additional talent that they bring in to support him. All right, all of that is the latest news. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Frank Isola is going to join us next. He's at the Frank Isola. But as we go to break here, I want to encourage you, if you love what we're doing at Outkick, and the numbers reflect many of you do, we're going to have, I was looking at the data on the Outkick website, we're going to have approaching 10 million people on the website this month, which is flat out unheard of. And as a result, we're going to be one of the 10 biggest sports websites in the entire country in the next month or two. And as a part of that, not to mention the biggest sports radio show anywhere in the country in the morning. So we appreciate all the time that you're spending with us. But if you really want to sign up in a big way for the Outkick audience, you need to be a VIP. We're announcing another addition to the Outkick universe today on the program. And if you're going to love a lot of the content that we're going to be putting out, the best thing you can do is sign up for the Outkick VIP. It's $99. This is the last week I think you're going to be able to get an autographed copy of my book. You get the right to comment on articles. You get the VIP phone line when we open up phone lines to be able to call this radio program. And you get access to events specifically for Jason Whitlock and myself that are VIP only. That is a big deal. I'm encouraging you to go sign up today, Outkick.com. Click the VIP logo. Tomorrow we're going to have Zooms that are exclusive for VIP members for you to be able to hang out with us, as well as, again, the VIP phone line, the VIP message board, and the VIP ability to comment on any articles that are up. And, again, we're announcing an additional hire today during this program that I think you guys are going to be excited about.